and welcome back to the Middling Along podcast. My guest this time is Kelly Keating, and Kelly spent almost 30 years climbing the corporate ladder before realising it was leaning against the wrong wall. At 47, she left a successful career in transformation to build a portfolio life around coaching, creativity and connection. She's now an executive coach, master student and founder of Wild and Wiser, a festival for women redefining success in midlife. And she's exploring what happens when you're wise enough to know it's time to get a little wilder. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Emma. Really lovely to be here. Great to chat with you today. And thank you for that lovely introduction. It sounds very impressive.
Women quite often say that. They say, "Oh, I sound quite impressive, don't I?" I'm like, "Yeah, own it."
We know what we should do. Doing it sometimes isn't always that easy.
I know. So full disclosure, I will be speaking at Wild and Wiser. Tell us a bit more about the festival, but we'll get to that. Maybe we'll go back a little bit first and tell us about your own kind of a little bit about your own reinvention, because I think that's always I just love hearing about people's kind of midlife pivot and reinvention. So tell us a little bit about how yours came about, if you're happy to.
Yeah, no, of course. I feel like it had probably been building for quite a while, and then a few different things happened to make you really sit up and question. Starting right from the beginning, I was a grammar school girl. I was always deemed as naughty. We had I don't know if she's still alive in a few years, I don't care. We had a horrendous head teacher, and I think I was labelled from an early age of, one of the naughty children because I came from a broken home. But, from quite an early age, I guess I didn't fit the mould, because back then, 30 odd years ago, most of my colleagues, pupils would have gone on to do A-levels in university. I went to the local further education college to do A-levels, didn't finish them, and certainly didn't make it to university. So I think there's something around almost proving that actually, whilst I didn't do that, I could still have a successful career. And that career was quite varied. I guess for a lot of the time I did follow my instincts. I followed opportunities that sounded interesting, but I worked, my very first job was essentially in a printers. They were a bit more than that. We were sort of full service for some very large clients, including Coca-Cola, NatWest, Sunseeker International Boats, and I worked my way up quite quickly from like an account exec through to becoming, I think my last role there was account director. But at the grand old age of 28, in hindsight, I probably had a little bit of burnout then. We had a new boss that I didn't always see eye to eye with, and took a step back then, sort of 10 years into my career, to reassess what I wanted to do. A good friend that I played netball with was a deputy head teacher at a local school, and I actually went and did some volunteering to see if I wanted to go into teaching, as that was what I thought I wanted to do when I was at school. Very quickly realised probably going into a primary school was naive, but yeah, that wasn't quite fulfilling what I thought I wanted to do, but it was great to have that opportunity. I then ended up working at the RNLI, took quite a step back, I guess, sort of, in seniority and pay, but had a wonderful team and a wonderful experience, and they really embraced mobility there. So I had, first of all, an extreme amount of really good quality training, and also the ability to sort of learn and grow with many jobs. And I had an exciting career there that took me around the UK, working with a lot of lifeboat stations and lifeguards around prevention and safety. But what really caught my attention there was they went on a transformation using Lean, and I loved bringing people together to essentially make things better, like facilitating the kind of end-to-end review as to how things could be better rather than everyone working in their own little silos. So I got my accreditations and stuff there, and really sort of thrived in that role where you essentially bring people together to have great conversations and improve things. My career then took me to financial services, more because of they were the large employers locally down here in Dorset, rather than any desire to work that way. In fact, it's probably a little bit back to front compared to a lot of people. But I was at that stage in my 30s. You were still trying to maybe get the next house up. My partner and I decided we wanted to have kids. You need that kind of financial stability, and so you're kind of on that hamster wheel that most of us are, thinking that success is defined by a bigger title, a bigger salary. Probably not a newer car for us. We've never been particularly that fussed about new cars, but do you know what I mean? Those typical measures of success that society tells us is what is important. And whilst I was at one of my large employers, I became a real advocate for flexible working. This was long before COVID, because I just saw so many brilliant women leaving the workforce because they weren't afforded any type of flexibility. I led a team internally and during our global hackathon, and we eventually got job sharing into that employer. So it was kind of a palatable version of flexible working, because it still provided the cover across the week full time. But because of that, I was quite well known, trained hundreds of managers on the sort of benefits and considerations of job design and flexible working. And as COVID started to sort of, we sort of returned back to normality, or even returned back to darker times before COVID in a lot of organisations, that flexibility was getting eroded for so many, even though I myself had a great team and a great role and had the flexibility I needed. I had more and more people sort of sharing with me that they didn't. And so I think I've done a lot of professional development over the years. You joined Marie, Jeanette and I a couple of years back with Aspiring Women. And so I'd always sort of lent into that reflective, like, who am I? What are my values? What's important to me? And I think certainly whether it's having kids or reaching over 40, you do start to assess what's really important. And I guess that does come from a place of privilege. I fully understand. I was able to get onto the housing ladder pretty young when things were affordable. So it gives you a little bit more of a sort of security to be able to perhaps ask harder questions and be a bit bolder around actually what your version of success looks like. So I guess my first sort of big leap was out of a sort of successful, well-paid career within financial services into a smaller startup that felt more values aligned to me. They were sort of purpose driven, a lot more around sustainability and so forth. And I loved that. Worked with some amazing people and was probably able to achieve more, from an impact point of view in a year, 18 months that I was there, compared to great big organizations where everything takes so long. And yet there was still something missing. It was still someone else's vision, someone else's kind of version of what was most important. And so I started to question, actually, was it now, whilst I'd been kind of playing with the self-employed element for about 5 years prior to that, just on a very part-time basis with some career leadership coaching clients, I decided that actually is now the time that I go all in. I'd started to have those conversations, and then a month later, very out of the blue, my dad decided to drop dead, bless him, at the grand old age of only 70. And I think that's obviously, a pivotal life point for many of us when things like that happen. But my dad in particular, he was far from perfect. He hadn't ever really brought me up. He and my mum separated when I was a baby. And yet we'd got closer later in life. And his memorial service in particular was just quite extraordinary. My siblings and I knew that he was a force of nature, but to hear the stories and the things that he'd done, and to look through some of his, mementos and reflections and so forth, he really had lived life on his terms, sometimes, probably a bit selfishly. I'm sure my mum and my half-siblings mum would say that. And yet he was also just brilliant, that he really didn't give a damn what anyone else thought. He would, give anything a go. And I think that was probably the catalyst I needed to think, what am I waiting for? And I know it's such a cliche, but, life isn't a practice run. None of us ever do know, starting to get more friends and colleagues that are getting poorly. Some sadly, are not making it. And, none of us, a coaching question that, we often reflect on with clients is, if you're on that deck chair in your 80s, reflecting back, what's going to have been really important, and what would have mattered, and what are you doing to work towards those things. And I realized that actually, if I didn't do it now, then when? And having that time and space, I gave myself most of the summer holidays off to spend time with my son and really sort of think about the type of life that I wanted to design and what that might look like. So yes, it's interesting. A lovely connection of mine who I met through LinkedIn, Colin Newlin, wrote in his blog around, I think he called it a fluid career, which I'd not heard of before, but that blend of really leaning into the different elements that you're interested in. So including education, for example, And so I think Colin came up with a good term for that's where I am in my career. It is fluid. And his point was actually, for many of us at middle age, that has been something that we've embraced. And yet for many young people coming through, that might be something they have to do because, the job market is very different to what it was like 30 years ago. So yeah, that's a very long-winded answer to your question, but hopefully that gives you a bit of a picture as to where I've come from and hopefully, where it then takes me next.
Yeah, I love that idea of embracing the sort of the fluidity. There's also squiggly careers, isn't there, that sort of people talk about. But I guess it's that sort of evolving kind of dynamic sense of it doesn't have to be one thing. I think we're kind of lots of us grew up in a time where, gosh, I can certainly remember doing the careers filling out the kind of the careers questionnaire at some point at secondary school, and I don't know, it's run through some kind of program and then comes up with ideas for you. And just this thought now that you might go into a career and stay there for 50, 60 years is just unthinkable, isn't it? We're all just changing. Things are changing so much. People have got so many more opportunities, but also, as you say, the landscape is so different now that
it was interesting how Colin's reflections were like that the whole system is predicated on that old-fashioned, oh yes, you'll have a job for life and a career for life and you'll steadily earn more, things like getting mortgages, securing loans, or even education, like, when you can get access to education. A lot of people I know would love to perhaps go back to university, but they think they can't afford it because they're doing it alongside a full-time job and blah, blah, blah. So I think it's an interesting time, but it's that society almost has to catch up around that fluidity as much as we perhaps need to get a bit braver in embracing it at the same time.
Well, certainly deciding to put on a festival is quite a brave move. What on earth made you decide that you wanted to do that? Where did that spring from?
I'm trying to think if there was one moment. I think it was just a number of different lenses that I kind of looked through. So I guess the obvious one is after 15 years together, and Andy and I finally got married last year. We've always loved festivals, and we knew that we wanted a festival-themed wedding. And we got recommended the venue for our wedding, which we're using for the festival. So I think that was definitely something. So I love the two women that ran it. They are proper wild and wise women. It's a very wild location on the edge of the Wareham Forest. So I think that had obviously been in my mind. I think similar to you, for the last year or two, 18 months for me, where I've had this additional time, I've been supporting former colleagues and some new colleagues as a volunteer for Smartphone Free Childhood. My son is 9, and it's something I believe really passionately in, that if that collective action of parents in delaying smartphone and social media use to enable them to have the childhoods that really matter. And so through that you talk to hundreds of parents and dozens of teachers, and I think in reality we all know that we're addicted to our phones and we need to do better role modeling. So there was very much something around wanting that time to step away from screens and really connect with each other in nature. And for the last more than a decade with Marie and Jeanette, where we had Aspiring Women, and then just had this amazing black book of fantastic speakers. Obviously, I came across you, I think, through Lauren's Upfront conference. Lauren's going to be coming, Michelle Minican, just lots of people, lots of brilliant females that I just want to accelerate and amplify their brilliance by sort of coming together and sharing it with others. So I think it was a culmination of all those things. I just thought, why not? Which is a bit bonkers, but equally that I'm sure that the dad thing, like as our friend said the other day, like if dad was still here, he would be your biggest PR. He would be telling everyone, he would be inviting everyone. So I think there's something like that I've got him in my ear going, F it, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah. And why Wild and Wiser? What's the kind of, I guess, the ethos behind that name? You talked a little bit about the wild part, I guess, about that kind of reconnecting with nature and sort of being in kind of...
Yeah, when I did some initial research, like I went out and, got some insight from different women that I thought might appeal to. And there was moments where I was like, oh, do I just play safe and just go with more of a smaller retreat, something more intimate, potentially something more exclusive? But actually, at my core, I believed in this. I believed in something bigger, so big enough to be vibey, but small enough to have, genuine connection. I know that camping isn't for everyone, but equally, I do feel that you get a very different experience. Like, we've all been to conferences, and even when you're in cooler venues, the fact is there's a different type of emotion, a different type of feeling when you are outside. But I was reflecting over the weekend how I'm lucky to be based near the sea, and so I've always talked around that kind of blue therapy. But actually, the last few years, I've enjoyed green as much, because I think there's something around that tranquility of being out in nature, amongst forests, amongst big skies. So yes, I think those that have booked tickets so far, I must have a look at the details, but it feels like 50-50. 50 perhaps are, coming from relatively local and going home to their own beds, but at least 50% of us are going to be camping, whether that's embracing, with their own tent or camper van or glamping. And I think that will be really special as well, because it's almost letting go of some of that very consciously by women, for women. I want women to realize the joy of women coming together and supporting each other, and letting go of any, I need to look like this, or I need to say that, or I need to, I think that's the kind of, I've got the tagline of, when you're wise enough to still go wild. And I think whilst I want it to be open to women of any life stage, and a few people have said to me they might be bringing their older teenage daughters, or, I think there is something, and actually they've probably got a lot they can tell us, because I think they're probably a lot more self-aware than I probably was at that age. But yeah, the wild and wiser connection, I think, will be what you mean it to be. But for me, it is that you are really leaning into your intuition, and you're not ignoring that. That's the real wisdom, that we've always had that in us. But I think society and pressure and whatever else, we often ignore that inner wisdom that we do have. And the wildness is a blend. Like, for me, it might be, dancing like no one's looking and just not caring. But equally for others, the wildness will be, going on the mindful walks in the forest, or reconnecting with nature. There's no right or wrong way to do it. And I've designed it so you can create the weekend that works for you. So some might lean more into the wellness element, some might lean more into the fun and creativity. But then there's also lots of amazing speakers and panel discussions if people are looking for that kind of reflection and development too. So,
and you already mentioned a couple of people who are speaking. What other sort of activities give people a kind of a flavour of what kind of thing to expect? And I haven't even mentioned yet. It's September this year, kind of bang in the middle of September. So I'm crossing my fingers for glorious sunshine.
We're all sunshine, Dad. Yeah, it's the weekend of the 19th and 20th. So I'm hoping for kind of that Indian summer, which we can be blessed with. But yes, there are three themes. So 3 tents in parallel. You've got the Wise Calm tent, and that is kind of your wellness, your rest, restorative type area. So things from sound baths to breath work. We've got mindful hikes that are being led from there, meditation, things of embodiment sessions. We've got a wonderful bunch of speakers and practitioners that are all really leaning into coming and being very supportive. The next tent is the Wild Energy tent, and this one is about movement, creativity and joy. This is the one that I'm panicking the most about logistically how we'll make it work. But
why are you panicking? What are you panicking about?
Just because it's got such a blend. So from a logistics point of view, it'll be a lot of lifting and shifting and moving. But yes, so we've got 2 amazing female comedians. One, I think, Sharon von Simpson. We've got Mark. She hates me, and I must stop saying this, but I'm just still so in awe of her. She was my drama and English teacher at school, and she's gone on to have a wonderful, successful career as a presenter, both on TV and radio. And she's also a stand-up comedian, Sam Fraser. So we've got laugh out loud comedy. We've got creative writing. We've got art sessions. I've just confirmed our dance workshop will be done by this amazing lady from Denmark who's recently relocated to the area. And it's called Groove. I'm not going to give too much away. You'll have to check out on the website, but it's a really fun and freeing dance workshop. And in the evening, We'll have live music and a couple of great DJs. I have heard that you might be bringing your sequin hot pans. So.
I know. Depends on the weather.
Really encourage the wearing of sequin hot pants and whatever animal print you desire. And then the final 10, which is where we'll be seeing you, is the Wild and Wise with Purpose tent. So this, I guess, is your slightly more traditional kind of speaker tent. So we've got individual speakers like yourself. We've got the brilliant Lucy Watson doing a session on negotiating for women. We've got Lauren Curry herself doing her brilliant session on confidence. And then we've got a number of panel discussions. My favourite, which was I kind of came up with the vision, and thankfully the people on the panel don't mind the title. It's called Sorting Your Shit Out, because I've lost count of the amount of time women have said to me, I really need to sort my shit out. This will be a combination of 3 brilliant lawyers and a financial planner, demystifying the things that we might off around, might be leaving an employer but don't know how to do it. Could be leaving a relationship, it could be sorting out your wills and things like that. So they'll be sharing some insights of common things.
Power of attorney, people. We've sorted out power of attorney this last 12 months. Do it.
Yeah. Is that for yourself as well?
Yeah, for myself and my other half, as well as the parents. They were done already, but we decided to do ours as well.
Yeah, it's one of those things that we constantly put off, but I'm hoping it will at least, give people a bit of insight, and the team will be around over the weekend if you need any sort of one-to-one chats and everything as well, because we all know it's important, but we often put it to the bottom of the list, don't we? So
yeah. Wow, what a mix. It sounds amazing. I'm really looking forward to it. I will be camping. Sharon, if you're listening, you're going to be helping me put up the tent.
There'll be lots of people on site to help.
Good. Well, I mean, in theory, it's one of those TP style ones with a central pole, so I should be able to do it myself. Famous last words. Where can people find more about the festival, look at all the programme, find out how to book tickets, etc., all that good stuff?
Amazing. Yeah, if they just go along to wildandwiser.co.uk, the full lineup's on there. You can see bios on each of the speakers. As much as I hate social media, like we are on social media, so Facebook seems to have more than Instagram. I have to admit, I only joined Instagram for the festival. It's one of those necessary evils, but I do appreciate a lot of people who hang out on there. So I try and share the love on that. For those of you that are in Dorset or not too far away, I have been hosting a couple of events in the run-up. So for people that are curious or have already booked tickets, just to sort of come and meet other brilliant Wild and Wise women. The next one of them that's coming up is a wilder table gathering at a venue called Patch in Bournemouth with Cara, who's our vegan chef, who's going to be there over the weekend. Just a very chilled evening of conversation and connection and lovely food for anyone that wants to join. Details for that are on the website. Well, I've recently opened up sauna booking as well. I don't know what it's like where you are, but saunas seem to be popping up absolutely everywhere down in Dorset. And so that was something when I sort of got insight from people that they wanted. And we've got the brilliant Lou from Sauna Sister, who's going to be offering rituals as well as just normal sessions in the sauna as well.
Fantastic. Great stuff. I mean, obviously, if you're listening, I would love to see you there. I would love you to bring a friend. If someone's thinking, I really like the sound of this, but I haven't got anyone to go with, what should we say to them, Kelly? Apart from come and you will meet dozens and dozens of amazing women.
I would say that with bells on, because I do know for a fact that some women have booked tickets alone. There'll be an optional kind of opening ceremony that will give you the opportunity to potentially, chat to someone new. But I think there'll be so many moments throughout the weekend that are consciously created for you to form that connection. And of all the wonderful people I know who've booked tickets so far and that I've spoken to, I honestly think it's going to be an environment where you'll feel safe, comfortable, without judgment, to just come along and hopefully make some new friends along the way. I think there's something really special about women who embrace the friendship of other women, and I think we're all pretty altruistic, and so we want to help each other out. So yeah, if anyone's nervous, feel free. I'm happy to jump on a call with anyone if they've got any questions. But yeah, they would be very, very welcome. And actually,
Definitely.
don't forget to share your code, because you have a special discount code that folks
Ooh,
can use
yes,
as well, don't they?
I
So
will.
maybe add that to the podcast.
I need to look it up. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. You'll have to look on the website for this particular episode, and then yes, you can get a discount on your ticket. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, I think if there was ever a festival to go to as a sort of a solo female, this is the one. So if you're feeling at all wobbly about the thought, or just don't be, come and find me or find Kelly or just find a new best friend. Fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm absolutely in awe of you kind of just deciding you're going to put on a festival and doing it. I'm not sure I can be quite that organised, but I know it's going to be brilliant.
It's a lot, but it's been lovely learning as well. Like I've always sort of said, I love learning and growing, and there's some bits that are a bit like but on the whole, I've really enjoyed it. And you learn by doing. I learn by doing, at least. So I think just giving things a go, and just to call it out, actually, I've been overwhelmed by the support and love, not only from all the speakers, that every single one I asked said yes, but also, a fabulous friend and former colleague just recently reached out to me and said, Kelly, can I help? So she's been helping me with loads of things on Canva. I'm in awe. And I think if there's anyone listening that has something at the back of their mind, like an itch to scratch, that they're thinking, maybe I could do this, whether it's a festival or whether it's start a new business or just put on an event or something that's been on their to-do list, I really would encourage you to give it a go. Because my experience has been, yes, it's a roller coaster, but actually on the whole, everyone's been so supportive and it is easier than you think.
Yeah. People love to help people. Generally. So yeah, fabulous. Okay, I'll make sure that the link to book and the code is all in the show notes. And yeah, I will see you in a big field in September, if not before.
Well, and thank you so much, Emma. Really lovely chatting today, and thanks to all your listeners for listening in.
Yeah, please do come and find me if we haven't already met. Come and find me on the day, either when I'm speaking or, if you see a 53-year-old woman wandering around in green sequin hot pants, that'll be me.
I love that.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks a lot.
I hope you enjoyed that episode. Don't forget that you can find the full back catalogue by going to www.middlingalong.com. See you next time.